You know, last summer I was up here, I did one of the vlogs where I was saying how dry and burned out everything is, but we've had so much rain over the last couple months, it's like this electric, luscious electric green. It's fantastic. Isn't that good stuff, Hud? Oh, what are you doing? Yoga? Pretty sunny. All right.
One thing I like to do with my reeds when I take out a brand new reed is, after I take it out of the sleeve, I take the back of my mouthpiece and I turn the reed over like this, upside down on a hard surface. And I just basically close all the pores of the reed by pressing from back to front. And you can see as it happens, you can see the grain start to really smooth out there. It's hard to do this with one hand, from back to front that way. It just closes up all these pores. And then I'll turn it over and I'll do like a quick sanding on a blank piece of white paper. I'll just go like this, you know, just about that long. And then ideally I put it in some water that is in a cup where it's straight up and down. I don't have that with me at the moment. But when you get the right kind of glass and it can really be straight up and down, it makes a huge difference. It will drink the water so fast. In about 30 seconds, maybe even less, you'll see the back of the reed be saturated. Now, I don't want to say waterlogged because that would take more time, but saturated. And after a couple of minutes in water, it's like the reed's good to go. It's a great starting point. So yesterday I was talking about perfectionism and how it leads to procrastination and how that leads to paralysis, which is not my line, by the way. It comes from an interview with the comedian Whitney, I think it's Whitney Cummings. Perfectionism leads to procrastination, which leads to paralysis. It's in this book with Tim Ferriss, Tools of Titans, along that idea of sort of perfectionism leading to procrastination. So I get a lot of questions that come in different forms, and some of the deeper ones, I just keep putting them off because I feel like I don't have the perfect answer, so therefore I'm not answering them. But the thing is, what I have to say on a given subject, it may or it may not help somebody, but it certainly won't help somebody if I don't get out of my own way or get over myself to just share my thoughts on it. There's no chance of it helping, right? Last night I was at a gig at the Lighthouse, which is this jazz club in Hermosa Beach. If you've seen La La Land, it's prominently featured in La La Land, but it's also the location for some very famous jazz recordings. Specifically, Elvin Jones live at the Lighthouse with Steve Grossman and Dave Liebman. Woo! That record, man, I was just revisiting that last night. A guy came up to me, he was at the show, and he basically said that he had been at a clinic I'd given at Berkeley a number of years ago, and there was something I shared during that clinic and it had been really helpful to him, and he was basically saying, hey, I just want you to know that thing you said, it stuck with me, I tried it, it worked, and so that's awesome. So because of that, and because of a couple things, I read an article today. There's this question that's on my mind that came from, Larry. Let's say Larry, all right? I'm gonna read you the question. It's kind of a heavy question. I get a question like this a lot. It's basically the should I go to Berklee College of Music question. Hi Bob, I understand you're busy. I'm going to Berkeley in a few weeks. I was supposed to go right after I graduated high school, but my sister suggested I stay in New York and go to a local college to take general ed classes and save up some money. You see, the reason I want to go so bad is because I've been slowly losing my will to play music. I ended up having a terrible relationship with my high school music teacher, whom I looked up to as a mentor. I rarely take lessons anymore because I can't pay for them. All right, hold on, I'm pausing. I'm not reading the letter now. Okay, so let's just assess. So far, Larry has said he's going to Berklee College of Music. If you don't know, Berklee College of Music, I went there for college. It's a great school, but it's a very expensive school. I think at last count, the tuition and room and board and all that, it adds up to somewhere around $60,000, $65,000 per year to go there. So let's say you go to Berkeley and you don't have a full ride or a big fat scholarship, you're gonna come out of there 4 years later with $250,000 in debt for a music degree. For a degree in music, an industry that is not even much of an industry anymore. All right, let me go back to this. So do you see my confusion here? You're gonna pay to go to this really expensive college, but you're not taking lessons anymore because you can't pay for them? So that's interesting. All right, aside from that, there are other reasons. I feel tremendous pressure to succeed at Berkeley. My single mom passed away a few months ago. I'm very sorry to hear that. who I fought tirelessly to go to a music school. So meaning Larry wanted to go to music school and his mom didn't. She wanted me to have a financially stable job and told me constantly to think about taking other careers. And I sort of hated her for not supporting me. Now she's passed away and I don't even know how I'm gonna pay for my semester, since most of the money I'd saved up paid for expenses while my mother was sick. And man, maybe you can see now why I've been avoiding this. And the reason I'm doing this now is because I keep thinking I'm gonna plan out some great answer, and I know that's not gonna happen. And this is just kind of raw. It's very raw. This is a heavy one, Larry. I mean, the reason your mom wanted you to have a stable, financially supportive situation, stable job, is probably because she was raising you as a single mom. I know I grew up with a single mom. I know how difficult that was. I can only imagine how much more difficult that is in today's landscape. But you know, on the flip side of Larry's question, I have another question that's similar, but I don't think I have time to get to it in this vlog. But it basically has to do with similar stuff about parents. You know, this sort of fight, like, hey, I want to go to music school, and parents saying you should get a real job. It's an age-old thing, and anybody who goes down any path as an artist of any sort, anything outside of the quote-unquote norm, if there is such a thing anymore, you're gonna have that resistance against people who care about you. Why? Because they care about you. They don't want you to be living under a cardboard box, you know, on a highway somewhere. I mean, so it's fear that's motivated by love that produces this, hey, you should get a real job thing, because they don't know they probably don't know people, they don't know an example. There's no blueprint for them to look at and go, oh, well, we know, you know, Tom and Jerry, I don't know why I picked those names. Lucy, you know, they're all musicians and they've got really solid, you know, bi-weekly checks and benefits and all. That's why. Who knows those people? Not very many people. That's why they want you to get a quote-unquote real job. And the truth is, they're not wrong for suggesting that. It is a crazy, wild path to try to go down the path of being an artist of any form. But, you know, a musician specifically, it is an against all odds type of thing. It truly is. People always used to say that to me. I mean, I was lucky that I had parents who were supported, and I grew up with a single mom, but my mom and dad separately both supported me as me. I don't think either one of them ever encouraged me to go be a musician. They were supportive in whatever I was going after because I was going after it. I digress. The short of it is just that your parents and the people who care about you, they're saying they want you to get a real job or focus on a real career because they love you and they care about you. Let me move on. I see my friends, this is back to Larry's note now. I see my friends, teachers, and acquaintances from the past ask me where I go to school or why I'm here, and when I tell them I'm attending a local college, it's always a condescending look or one of disappointment. Going to Berkeley has been kind of a dream for me, kind of like how kids talk about going to an Ivy League. I feel like going to Berkeley and being in the musical environment and meeting like-minded people is the only way for me to have a self-restitution musically and in general. On the other hand, I risk being in debt and becoming a dropout failure. Man, there's a lot about this that I could go on and on and on about, but like going to Berkeley, like Berkeley is not a solution. Going to Berkeley does not get you a career. Berkeley it's an amplifier. It's not a generator. So Larry goes on to say, I still practice every day, and deep inside I want to keep playing this great music, but I'm having a hard time staying motivated, and I'm not having as much fun as I used to. Larry, if you're already at Berkeley, you should probably leave, man. There are too many people there who've never even had these thoughts. I'm not saying like we don't all have self-doubt, we do. But you're talking about going to an institution that's incredibly expensive, and you're hoping that that institution will solve some deeper life issues for you, and it won't. It's an amplifier, it's not a generator. So if you go to Berkeley and you've already got momentum and things are happening, and I'm not saying that changes can't or won't happen there, but it will amplify them, and it can help you push you out the door. But it's not going to create the love or the interest or the passion or the excitement for you. And those things, most of the people who are going there, and even, you know, to even have an inkling, even a tiny little bit of a chance, you have to have that stuff in spades. You got to have it so much. So Maybe by the time you see this, you're already there and things have changed wildly for you and you're really feeling great, and I hope that's the case. But Berkeley does not solve your problems, and it's an expensive solution. And just think about this. Sonny Stitt didn't go to Berkeley. Stan Getz didn't go to Berkeley. Sonny Rollins didn't go to Berkeley. I mean, Chris Potter went to Manhattan School of Music, but Joshua Redman went to Harvard. I mean, I don't know. The school is not, the school won't do it for you. The school does provide an environment for you to meet and network and learn from a lot of people. That is absolutely true. I'm not discounting that. But I just would never recommend to anybody that's not like just so over the top, like this is what I'm gonna do. There is no backup plan. I have no plan B. Like if you're not in that place, like I don't think you should go to Berkeley and go into debt, because it's not a kind of school where you're gonna get a degree and come out and there's somebody waiting to hand you a job for that. And along those lines, the thing that made me think about this specifically today, I read this article, learning what is it? I can't read backwards. Learning a trade instead of taking on debt. Now, in synopsis, it profiles a guy who happens to be named John Williams in the Bay Area, and he's 25 years old, and he basically, in a nutshell, I'll link to this below, but he basically says, look, you know, I'm gonna read a little bit of it. Here we go. All right, my name is John Williams. To me, the economy seems sluggish but decent. I think personally we have an economy that basically burdens people with debt to supplement larger businesses, basically banks. My older brother has a bachelor's degree in European history. He currently is teaching in a foreign country because he can't find a job in America. My sister has a bachelor's degree in economics. She works in marketing at a bank. So everyone that I know that got a degree basically did the same thing. They went into a lot of debt. They started the jobs, and everyone wanted 10 years of experience but wanted to pay entry-level wages. So I kept trying to think of jobs that are necessary that don't need degrees. And he goes on to say he became a bus mechanic, and one thing led to another, and now he's a bus mechanic in Silicon Valley, and etc. He learned a craft, he learned a trade. Where am I going with that? Just this idea, though, that this is a bubble, the higher education bubble. It is a bubble, just like a stock market bubble or a real estate bubble. It's a bubble. I don't know when it's gonna burst, but it's inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. These colleges and what they're charging, I mean, you have all these people coming out with all these crazy high degrees and they can't get jobs. It's an equation that's broken. So I don't wanna get on a whole separate rant about that, but the gist of it, Larry, is that if you're not feeling like you would do this without Berkeley, you would do this no matter how many people told you shouldn't do it, you're excited about it, you don't have a backup plan, your only plan is to make it work, I'm telling you that I personally don't think you have any shot unless that's how focused you are. And the reason I say that is because not only from personal experience, but I know what a Shark Tank it is, and all the people living in New York who are out there trying to make it and play and are struggling and having a hard time, and they are the best of the best of the best. So if you're not like at least on that path, I would say look for something else. That can't be the only thing that you're good at or interested in. And you know, you should be, if you're listening to this right now, you know, maybe hopefully you're giving me the finger behind the screen saying like, forget you, Bob Reynolds, you don't know what you're talking about. And that's what you need. You should be saying that if you're gonna keep going down this path. Does that make sense? Anyway, man, I wish you the best. I'm sorry to hear about your mom. And I hope that you get through this and that you turn all these obstacles into a launch pad for your own success, one way or the other. One last thing, which chord do you like better? This one or this one?